or something. You know what I mean? Like right? He just, quiet life, back in the, house, like with like a big backyard kind of guy, like, cottage up in the woods, and that's his fun, probably.
Do you think his mindset will change once he starts getting closer to that championship title?
Championship changes everyone. That, like, it would. Then we'll see the real Bottas. Then we might see him getting angry and going for some crazy moves.
Well, in the past 2 or 3 races, I've really been seeing him really emotional. Not reaching Vettel's levels, but like even during the interviews here, he was really showing off like how he was sort of really sad about it, instead of being a bit.
Wait, hang on a second. Are we not getting sound?
I'm not getting sound. It's going through. I'm getting sound on everything.
What? Didn't this happen
again?
Yeah, it happened again.
Yeah. I
got sound going through OBS. I got the sound going through my board, but there's no sound going through into YouTube.
No, there is. There is. TV.
Lies and slander.
I'm Turbo Twine TV. Jesus Christ, man. Scared us.
Yeah.
Sorry for the audio listeners.
Yeah. I thought it was fine, but maybe it's really quiet.
Whatever. Bahrain Grand Prix. Guys, come on. Like, so 2 out of 3 races won by Vettel. I like. Not only that, but Lewis Hamilton is not like the only other option now. I think Bottas actually, like, yeah, he's within sniffing distance.
I don't know.
Come on.
He got. I mean, he took it in quali, but in race pace, I don't know if he can manage as well as Lewis.
Is it the like aggressiveness of him?
Well, it's a balance.
Right.
I mean, obviously he was falling off with his tires, right?
Right.
And I don't know what the setup is like between the two Mercs, but they're vastly similar. And Lewis was pulling away at the end, and pit stops. Valtteri came in a little bit before, maybe 1 or 2 laps.
Yeah.
But I mean, Lewis was pulling away by 6 or 7 seconds by the end of the race.
Yeah.
With over at about 10 or 11 laps. So whether or not Valtteri just used up too much of his tires earlier on, and that's just experience. You got to learn how to deal with that. So I don't know. I don't know if he could really compete with Lewis if Lewis is on his best.
So remember how for the first 10 years or so of the Bahrain Grand Prix, there was nothing ever happened there. Today's race, and I'm just reading off the headlines. Mercedes put this out. Today's race had 48 overtakes, with only 18 of them being DRS assisted.
That's good.
I put that actually in part to honestly, like, I think some of it had to do with so 2 things, with the cars being much grippier and just overall faster and wider. The braking zones change entirely. Like it's good. Whereas last year you would have had a braking zone at certain turns, some of those braking zones have either completely disappeared or like they're just completely different now. And the fact that, if you guys remember, like during one of the long shots, they showed the palm tree when they were lifting. Actually, at the beginning of the race, when they were lifting Verstappen's car, the thing was wobbling around. You could see it was very windy. What happens at that track is that a bunch of sand from the nearby desert just gets blown over.
The local desert.
And and whereas some tracks rubber up throughout, if there's high winds in Bahrain, you get a lot of fucking desert sand blowing through and doesn't allow that to happen. This is what used to happen at Zandvoort in the Netherlands, and that's why they thought that it was such an amazing race, because all that sand just adds another element that's amazing. It's 2017, man.
Well, the more that you get the drivers to drive the cars rather than the engineers figuring out how to maximize the performance out of the car, you're gonna have better racing.
And then that's the mantra these days for sure. But no, I thought that was great racing. Shame for Verstappen. I would have liked to have seen him like advance through the pack, or do something. At least try, get bold with the overtakes. But maybe the fact that he wasn't there actually like prompted some other people to like start to get bold and crazy. Like what is it, like Sainz? Yeah,
came out of the pits and went right into who did he crash into?
Lance Stroll.
Went to Lance.
Our boy!
Our boy! Dave, you really gotta. He's our
boy, man.
Lord and Savior, Lance Stroll.
He's Canadian, but he's not by boy yet. He has to.
He's gotta earn it. He's gotta earn it.
He does have to earn it.
But you're not rooting for him.
I lean towards him, but I'm not. But he's got to put up some numbers. He's got to start.
Well, I mean,
coming up through
he's
the field.
like getting insanely unlucky in the last 3 races. I mean, the first one was.
It's unlucky.
Yeah.
But it's also car position. Putting your car on the track where you can get hit. It happens, and it doesn't happen to other guys. So it's experience. Giving yourself just a little bit more space in certain situations.
Right. So I mean,
and that won't happen. I fully blame Sainz for what happened to him, but you have to be aware of those possibilities and get out of them. Not be in that situation.
Okay, the previous race in China when he got taken out by the Perez. Now what was. And that is that
in my opinion, yes, similar, but also he was on the racing line and he was coming from wide and cutting in short, and Perez was already up close and to his rear wheel. So again, on those first couple laps, especially, you got to give extra space because there's so many unknowns.
Right.
And Charlie isn't going to be calling a lot of stuff on the first couple laps.
Yeah.
So you have to give yourself. You can't take racing lines on the first couple laps just because the proximity.
There's
of all
too much
cars.
shit going
There's too
on.
much. You have to protect your position and come in tight, not taking the normal racing line.
Right.
And that's what happened to Stroll
And
in China.
then
He just
Lance
went wide and cut back in.
Lance is known to be like super aggressive too, right? So
That's true, right? As in GP2, his first year in GP2, he was crashing all over.
He
the
never
place.
touched GP2. He Formula 3, European Formula 3. But yes.
So, sorry, he was in
Euro Formula 3. Yeah.
Okay. So, from what I saw in his first
his first year he was called the Maldonado.
That's right.
And they actually suspended him for a race because he was crashing all over.
Yeah. So, but a year in F1 without crashes, it's hard.
Yeah. Well, always that first corner in every race, everyone's like, part of me wants like the biggest crash of the year, and the other part wants like everyone to get away scot-free and just like, let's race.
There's a statement now that got issued by the Ferrari president, Mr. Sergio Marchionne. I just want to read it here.
Really? Okay.
It is, of course, hugely satisfying to be back on the top step of the podium with Seb. More importantly, however, we are now completely confident that our victory in Melbourne wasn't a one-off, and that we will be at the forefront of this World Championship until the last. We finally have a competitive car to count on, and it is important to recognize the speed with which we implemented these developments demanded for each new race. All of this is a fruit of superb work at the track and in Maranello. So my compliments not just for Seb for his achievements in Bahrain, but also to the whole team. Congratulations to Kimi too on a good race. That said, we are well aware that we have a long road ahead of us. That if we want to get the most important finish line of all, we cannot stint our commitment to whatever. Fuck it. The rest of it. But these are fighting words from Sergio Marchionne, like basically saying like, all right, now I can shit talk. Because remember how last year he was like, oh, we gotta win, we gotta win, and they never won. Now he's like, all right, sweet, this is real, it's for real now. And all credit, honestly, to Matteo Binotta's team. He has actually like proven that it can be done, and fuck, that's why like to me that's one of the reasons why we still need. No matter how we think or how we feel about Ferrari, this is why we need Ferrari in Formula 1 to like break the groupthink. And this is what I mean by that. Leading up to the race and for qualifying, the qualifying pre-show, Ted now he's doing his like technical segments with a buddy from Williams, a former from Williams, Pat Simmons. Pat Simmons, right? Like so Pat Simmons, former chief technical director of Williams, is now working for Sky, and he and like the Sky like technical guy who used to be Ted, now they do these segments where they analyze shit. And at one point, Pat Simmons actually says something to the tune of like, oh, ha ha ha, like look at the turnaround of Ferrari. They're actually doing like a great job, like and he said something like, like the talk up and down like with the British teams is like among us Brits in Formula 1, we're all like, can the Italians ever organize themselves? Like, no, man. There's not one way to do Formula 1, and that way is not just the British way. Mm-hmm. Just like Honda does not actually need Brits to win. I know that. Listen. the fact that they're still not doing the right job still does not mean that they need a Brit or that they need like British engineers. Trust me, if for some, like, does this make sense to you? If a sport, a worldwide sport like Formula One, if it has to be done, if the engineering and the thought process of how to make a car fast has to be done, it has to be tied to a geographical location, we're fucked as a species. Like, no, seriously, why? Like, why? What? How does that make sense in anybody's mind?
Yeah.
No, there's different ways to do it, and there's different ways to organize a team. And listen, you can, the fact that Ferrari tried it like for 17 years in a row or whatever and didn't get it right to do it the Italian way, and now they're getting it right. Whatever, that's how long it takes some people, but it can be done. It doesn't have to be done the British way, and this is what I've been talking about. As soon as I saw that car, man, I saw it. And I saw the things that they did, and I was like, no, that's that car. They're trying something different. For once, for the first time, they're like stepping out of the mold, and they're doing it under Matteo Binotta's direction. James Allison actually came out and said, one of the news stories leading up to this week was like James Allison on record saying, listen, this new car, actually, it's not mine at all. He's like, I had very little input in this car. So they're doing their own thing, their own way, and thank goodness for that. Honestly, for the future of Formula One, this is why it's good.
Yeah, well, they were the only ones to innovate with that air intake, which also serves as a second front wing.
It's great. But yeah, anyway, I'm excited about that, as you can tell. Enough about me talking about Ferrari. Bottas coming out and saying that the team orders are the worst thing to hear in a race. he got told to let Lewis through.
Well, his pace wasn't faster than Lewis's. There was no reason why he shouldn't have given that spot up.
Yeah. And if you don't have to fight for it, it's just better for the team in general, right? I mean, that's just sort of what it comes down to. If he did have the pace, though, and they told him, that's a different story. But between them, it was just like, nah, man, he's faster, more likely to get the points, even though he didn't.
Well, but how much do you have to give credit to Bottas? Like, how much space is he going to let team orders take over? Because, I mean, that was about 15 laps to the end of the race, and Seb was still 12 seconds ahead at that time. So, I mean, and I don't think they were in danger from Kimi from behind. So, you know, he gave up points if he had held off Lewis. Yeah. But, you know, still, with that much laps left, you could still put them together. I mean, Lewis was 1.5 seconds a lap faster at times, but that was when Vettel was behind traffic. Was it realistic? I guess. I mean, he made up. I guess I think it was about 7 seconds ahead of Bottas on the past 15 laps. So I guess it was probably still the right call.
The last 15 laps though, that was some great driving by Lewis. We all can agree with that. Like I do agree with you that Lewis has a rightful, or at least some of a claim for driver of the day. So does Alonso, but yeah.
Well,
no. If we're talking about thirds of the race, the first third of the race was like how many overtakes did Alonso do? Remember? Jesus Christ! Like he did, and he was pulling some brave moves when he was like obviously he would, like his scraps were like with people like Palmer or whatever, but still,
just a bunch of scrubs.
Another thing that I wanted to point out is that so remember when we were talking about Carlos Sainz and that move? So it came out, he has been penalized 3 places, so he gets 3 grid places drop from the next race for Russia. Oh shit! Well, people say that you can't overtake there, but he's been demoted 3 places. That was because that was purely his fault.
Yeah,
like really, there was no 2 ways around that. Yeah. It was just funny. I think it was you that pointed it out, like that Claire Williams was like, oh, you know, we're just looking forward to Lance Stroll finishing a race. One of these days, you'll finish a race.
Massa's holding up quite well. He finished 6th today.
Yeah,
that's good points for Williams.
Do you think it's because he just doesn't give a fuck anymore? Like then he's just like, all right, I'm just driving the car.
Yeah, maybe he's not under as much pressure as anymore. He's thinking, this is my last year. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think the Williams car, I think, is significantly improved from previous years. I mean, when Pat Simmons was delving the car, they went for low downforce, high slip, and it never really worked out for them. They never got to any tracks where they could really take enough advantage out of it. And with the new rigs this year, I mean, Paddy Lowe hasn't had any real impact on it yet, but I think they made a change in direction in terms of how they were going to develop the car from what they did the previous 3 years. And I think they're doing well with that, and I think they probably will only get better with Paddy Lowe at the helm now.
Well, Paddy Lowe is gonna if anything, he'll bring his giant brain into the operation to organize things, and it's very underrated. And it could just be something as simple as, instead of ending every meeting with like, okay, goodbye, like let's whatever, like just instead of doing that, let's just all talk about what we just learned. Some simple things like that. In the long run, it accumulates and everybody fucking gets better and things get more organized. That's how it works. That's the kind of mentality that Paddy Lowe will bring to Williams. And Williams, if anything, had been a team that you could see, man, they were just not as organized with all that debauchery. And I think that actually happened. That mentality at Williams, the that'll do mentality, that'll do.
Good job.
It is still from the Pastor Maldonado money days, right? Where like no matter like what they did, it was like, whatever, we're getting Pastor Maldonado money, right? Like they didn't have to try. So now that they're like having to like actually like, all right, let's pull a team together. Let's start like getting it done. Paddy Lowe, great addition, and he's gonna. I think Williams might be, and I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna be bold, but they might be a championship contender team, or if anything, like a thorn, a thorn in the heels of the top teams.
A top third team, like the top in the top three.
Yes, in the top
much.
three consistently in a matter of like a couple of years, probably.
Yeah, I think it's very realistic.
Yeah.
Force India also still doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Not as well as Williams did today, but overall they got more points because Stroll didn't finish. So I mean, I think what do we got? I think Ocon got 10th and Prix got 7th. I think something to that effect.
Well, Ocon has been really consistent. He's been 10th for each race.
Yeah.
And which is, I think that's perfect.
Consistently in the points, man, in a team like that matters. Yeah, for sure it does.
Especially with Stroll lucking out. Well, not really. Each race, and then now Force India's already going to be ahead most of the championship, I think, unless Stroll starts doing a bit better.
It would if he could get just a couple points.
Yeah.
It would help them out tremendously.
Okay, he doesn't have the pace yet. Like, I mean, he's consistently. Let's be real about this. He's consistently, 7 positions behind Bottas during qualifying. Or sorry, yes, right. behind Massa in qualifying and during the race and whatever. So it's his adjustment period. I'm not expecting him to like go and like start challenging for wins, but finishing a full race is gonna allow him to actually finally learn what's that like. He doesn't know what that's like yet, right? So once that's just gonna be a thing that he's gonna have to like get used to, learn, and when he gets enough of those race finishes and enough experience to be confident in the car, I think, I mean, just by looking at the way that he used to drive, I think he's gonna like then just turn it up and start trying, going for those moves that he got criticized for. Some of them might end up in big shunts in the wall, but listen, he's gonna start trying. I know that. I know it. I feel it. But come on, what a great race! What a great comeback from from last week's race, because China wasn't great in the grand scheme of things, but 2 out of 3 this year that have been like pretty good races. I think that's looking pretty good for F1 in 2017. Another one of the interesting stories that came out like leading up to this Grand Prix was Alonso to Indy and Button back to Formula One. And I just gotta remember, because when you said when we were talking about Massa and like how like maybe he's just not under the pressure now or whatever, I think Jenson Button is gonna go to Monaco and have a vacation that's just gonna happen to include driving a Formula One car.
Does Jensen still live in Monaco?
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
So he's just driving around the streets in a faster car.
Exactly. It's gonna be great, man. Yeah. It's how good is that? Like that's I thought that as soon as I heard that I was like, man, it makes sense. Alonso, he's got lots to gain. Button, that's pretty much about the only race that I can actually see him going back into the car. Because if he had to travel too far, if he had to like bother about going to Russia, he'd probably be like, nah, man, bro, I'm just gonna pass on this one, right? But he's in Monaco. He's gonna go back to like hang out with his buddies. That's what it's gonna be like, right? For that weekend, and then Alonso is gonna go and like just try something else. And you could see him, man, as soon as he got that, as soon as the announcement and like I guess the deal was finished, he was so happy. Like he was like, it's like we saw like the excited Alonso, and that translated also to his racing that we saw on track. He was like you know, drivers are like that, man. Sportsmen are like that. They're whether you want it or not, like your emotions and like where you are in life affects your performance. That's, you know, Rafael Nadal, when he broke up with his girlfriend or whatever, like he goes shit at tennis. That it happens with sports people, and I think that like that's how do you keep Alonso interested? How do you keep Alonso like a guy like Alonso like motivated? I think that was a genius stroke by McLaren to orchestrate that, and I'm looking very much forward to watching possibly my first Indy 500. I've never seen the race.
So speaking of keeping Alonso motivated, another interesting thing that Ted mentioned during the notebook was that rumors say that Alonso has expressed that if he does not finish in the points, well, if he sees that he's not going to finish in the points, he would basically not finish the race.
He's going to retire the car.
Yeah, he's going to retire the car.
Yeah.
Oh, them fighting words.
Yeah.
Woo!
Well,
Give
I mean,
the
there's
man a
what?
car.
I mean, there's two. One, it doesn't look good. Two, but though, I mean, you get to change things on the car if you don't finish the race. So is it more strategic, or is it more of an FU towards Honda, saying, you know, I'm not going to put this car across the finishing line if you don't think it. But I mean, you get to change a gearbox without penalty if you don't
Right,
finish.
yeah, and some of the engine bits even, because it
Probably.
doesn't count
I'm
as
sure,
a finish.
Well, I mean, they've had to change 3 so far, right?
Well, who knows how many engines they're in? They might be in engine 7 right now, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was so funny. Okay, we were like, so Travis and I were talking about the like Alonso going to Indy 500, and I was like, oh man, wouldn't that be great? Whatever, and like, oh, then I was like, oh, I don't know, it's like a 4-hour race. Travis was like, I don't know, man. They're running Honda engines after all.
So the Indy 500, what is that? Because I've never seen it. I don't even know what it
Hey,
looks like.
you've actually been to Indy races.
Yeah, I went to see the Toronto Grand Prix, or not the Grand Prix, the Toronto Indy the Indy race in Toronto, back when I was much younger. Fun experience, not the same for me as watching F1. I'm not a big fan of street circuits just because they're usually not manicured well, and the racing isn't all that good. It's basically just trying to not bash into somebody.
Yeah.
The Indy 500 is a massive race. It's probably one of the, if not the biggest race in the world relative to eyeballs. So as I believe 500 laps, it's a oval type track. It's not completely oval. It's huge. The place holds, I don't know, massive, probably 250,000 people, if not more.
Let's look it up.
It's massive, and it is packed to the brim, both the infield and the grandstands. So you have a ton of people there. They have like the what you would consider sort of Charlie's booth in sort of oversight. They have massive buildings in terms of just the infield section as well. It is a huge place. It is like the colossus of racing.
So the
That's what they call it,
so the
racing.
Indianapolis Super Speedway can fit 400,000 people, and they pack it. It's a sold out event.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah, no. Hey, say what you want about Indy or whatever. Like the Indy 500 is a huge race, and so Montoya, Juan Pablo, he has experience both in F1 and he's
won the Indy 500.
Yes, he did, and he didn't win, but he got close to winning the Monaco Grand Prix, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, wait, no, he has won the Monaco Grand Prix. Wait,
No, I don't think.
No, but he got close. No, he didn't. He didn't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that he didn't win the Monaco Grand Prix. Anyway, he was basically the closest driver since Graham Hill that got close to the Triple Crown, which is. It's actually an unofficial. It doesn't actually exist. It doesn't exist, but it's like a thing that people like to call it. So the Triple Crown of motorsports, if you haven't heard about this term before, means winning the Le Mans 24-hour race, the Indy 500, and the Monaco Grand Prix. Basically, what used to be in the traditional sense, like back in the 20s, like these three races have been around for that long, and they used to be, and they have been, and since, and I guess not the 20s, but the 30s. Either way, they have been even since then, and still remain today. The most important events in each one of their categories. So WC, the most important event is the Le Mans. And then for Indy 500, and for Formula One, in a way, it's the race that like everybody looks forward to. Whatever.
That's right. Everyone wants to win Monaco.
Yes, exactly. So it counts. It still counts as an achievement. So you know what? If Alonso's like, I can't win a championship, and I'm not gonna win a championship with these guys, I can still go for that. And wouldn't that be beauty to see Alonso? Maybe not this year, but I think Alonso might. If he does well in Indy 500, I guarantee you he'll come back to try to actually win it, and he might.
Well, that'll be hard because situations will be different next year. Whether he's either not going to be in F1 or he's going to be in a competitive car.
That's true.
Right? So how's he going to do that?
Yeah.
You can't exactly get Monaco with a competitive team.
That's true. Well, he has won Monaco already.
Yeah, but you still need points if you're in a competing team for the championship.
Yeah, for sure. But what I'm saying is that he's gonna try to get that Triple Crown, and maybe we'll see Alonso in a team at Le Mans. Wouldn't that be cool?
It would.
Like I
don't think it'll happen this year. But
not this year.
I think it will. I mean, everyone when they retire from F1 seems to be going to WEC right now. So it seems to be the natural retirement series for F1 drivers.
Have you guys wandered into WC? Watch that yet?
Time to time. I haven't gotten through 6 hours together all at once. Not to say 24 hours.
Yeah.
But the cars are definitely exciting to watch. It's not like the LMP prototypes. They are exciting cars. And they are, if not more, technologically advanced than F1 cars in terms of the types of development that they do, in terms of the different engines, the way that they have their energy conservation, whether they have flywheels, whether they have other technologies. And then they have different, not in the same category, they have different constraints for each of those types of engines, which is also very interesting in how close they sort of are. And when the cars are moving around, I think was it Silverstone? Was there an event recently in WEC the other day? I saw a clip somewhere. Anyways, the cars looked fast going through Maggots and Beckett's. And they were hopping around, and they looked fast. They're not as fast as F1. Actually, this year it'll be even more of a discrepancy. Last year it was less so.
Yeah.
But the cars looked like they were flying.
But I thought that the cars for it's in particular this race with the lights and the sparks and some of the overtaking maneuvers that we saw, I thought that the F1 cars now truly actually look fast on the screen again.
I agree. They do look fast again.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when it was Massa and Hamilton, and there was something on the track, and they just made this quick little snippet of a move.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember F1 cars looking alive, like absolutely alive. And I'm sure they would look even closer to that now if they weren't full of fuel all the time.
Yeah.
Because they're just so heavy now with the batteries and a full tank of fuel that you can't quite do that. But yeah, they do. They look fast again, going through turns. And that was one of the big deals. Like overall, when they brought in DRS, the cars were faster until they got to a turn, and then they had to slow down.
Right.
What good is that?
Yeah.
You want to see, like, European racing is seeing cars going around turns fast.
But they have to look fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you guys looking forward to the next race?
Russia. What can you look forward to at Russia?
Come on. It should be good to see them now.
Turn 2 is fun. It's always fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be good to see him now in a completely flat, completely like where conditions hardly ever change. There's not gonna be any wind. It's just gonna be all the cars. Because that was the thing about Russia. I remember like every single time that the Russian Grand Prix has happened is the qualifying grid looks like 2x2x2x2x2x2 because it's just who's got the best car, who's got the second best car, and that's how the race ends because there's no overtaking. So I think if anything, what I'm looking forward to in Russia is to see like really, really actually in real terms, with all things considered, how close is the Ferrari actually? Because as much as we would like to say, I think a lot of today's victory was like due to Vettel, and that's great. That's amazing for Formula One. Like I think like Vettel fucking drove the shit out of that car. He did. And he did when it counted, and he built the gap, and Ferrari's strategy for once they got it right, and all that. So that amounted, but straight up car versus car, I think we're gonna see that in Russia, and we'll get a good feel of really where everybody sits.
Well, last year was when Kvyat crashed into Vettel, right?
Yes,
Twice.
Twice? That's the only thing I remember from last year's Russia Grand Prix. I'm not sure what to look forward to. I want to see Verstappen going at it again because
yes,
he's the most exciting part of most of the races that I see now. His mentality.
We also got some history between the two Finns at Russia. They've
yes,
touched wheels a number of times in Russia.
Yeah.
So they're in cars competitive to each other. They should be close. So it should be a little interesting to see if that brings back any memories and whether or not anyone forces anyone off the track or cuts anyone off.
I'm excited to see Lance Stroll finish the race.
So this is going to be.
Do you think this is going to be the?
This is going to be a hard first corner for him because it is a long straight and a long
David breaking my heart.
Sorry, man. The guy's
he's
got to put up.
He does. You're absolutely right.
What do you guys think Bernie was doing in Bahrain this weekend?
Making money.
So we saw the return of Bernie, like, and then he came out recently. What was the headline that he's like, oh, it seems like Liberty doesn't want my input.
Liberty doesn't want his input. He's also made comments that he's done too well for Formula One in the past, and the promoter fees are too high. That he thinks he's. Now he's scared. Now he cares. Yeah, I know. What kind of BS is that? He did too good. That was his job. That's what he said. It was his job to make as much money for Formula One.
Yeah.
But now with the governments and pulling out of races like Malaysia, that promoter fees should drop, and also they're looking to bring back Turkey into F1 for 2018 potentially at Istanbul.
I think that could work.
And that would be an awesome track for these
work.
cars because they would just fly around that epic turn. So. And there was also word about who is who's owning some of these tracks, and Bernie. We think Bernie has a number of investments in a lot of these tracks, and now maybe he doesn't want to pay as much money for having his hand in the cookie jar and on the opposite side.
Hey man, Norris McDonald, and this is senior Toronto Star columnist. Wheels magazine editor, like motorsport editor, basically the motorsport guy in Canada. He's like, yeah, Bernie Ecclestone owns the Canadian Grand Prix.
Yeah, I remember.
He owns the Canadian Grand Prix. People don't know it. Like it was all like under the table deals, but he owns the Canadian Grand Prix, and he has that situation.
So back last year when they had to make the pit changes, okay, why? I guess like what? And then Bernie was wondering whether he was going to cancel the race. So
it's because Bernie's getting money from every direction. He's not just getting money from you, the fan. He's getting money from the government. He's getting money from, because that's how it happened. That was Bernie playing chess with himself. That's what that was.
Good move. Indeed. Let me consult my owls.
Come on. I actually think that Bernie was probably there, and this is actually as soon as I saw him that he made an appearance there. Let me tell you, I think he's gonna make another, and I'm calling this, and if trust me, so he's gonna make another appearance in Russia maybe, and he's gonna make another appearance in Singapore, because I think that Bernie was kept in that role as chairman emeritus or whatever, because Liberty still know that they need him, especially to deal with the places, with the tracks that they wouldn't be there unless some underhanded like like sketchy shit happens, sketchy like dealing like with KGB style people, dealing with like mafia, dealing with like the Saudi royals, like that kind of people, like like the underhanded deals. They realize that Bernie has his hands so deep into everybody's pocket that they know that they, for now at least, they need him for these kind of events to be there. Like the Bahrainis guys, like the Prince whatever, they wouldn't have met with Liberty unless Bernie was there, because their deal wasn't with them. Their deal was with Bernie. You know what I mean? So that's why he was there. That's why I think. Anyway.
So we're still gonna see Bernie for several years in the
until those contracts run out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think so.
Well, the reason he was basically around for his entire ownership of the sport for 40 years.
Yeah.
Well, it's because he was making money for everyone.
Yes.
And I think that they're gonna keep him because I think that'll keep on
Well,
working.
trust me, because the deals were not with FOM the company; they were with Bernie. Some of those deals. You know what I mean? They were those handshakes, the famous Bernie handshakes.
I own your soul now. Here's
Yeah.
thank you. Shake on it.
Kids, don't ever shake Bernie Ecclestone's hands. He'll have you. And he'll come up to you and he'll say something charming like, "I'll take care of you."
Oh.
That's apparently like his catchphrase. Like if you know, like in the inner circles, like in that book, No Angel, like by like the only like authorized like Bernie biography out there. It's from years ago, but still apparently like that's how he like in his inner circle, like that's how he's like, "Don't worry, I'll take care of you." I'll take care of you. That's how he done. From the chat right now, Painkiller saying Bernie should go and fuck himself. I would rather have one more race in Europe than two in places like freaking Baku. The track is still cool though. It's true though.
Was it good job, Baku, or like?
Well done.
Well done.
Well
Baku.
done. Good lord.
I think that's all. Like I said, these are just the remains. They're keeping him on until these contracts run out. I don't think. I mean, actually, Bahrain, out of these the golf races, would that be Bahrain? I like Bahrain. I think Bahrain, like, if they want to stay and if it makes economical sense for them to keep F1 in their country, go for it. Keep it. Whatever. Stay.
Well, they have like the Saudis have significant interest in Ferrari, right? I mean, they have Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi, right? So Saudis are spending money because they just don't want to be left with cash. They want to own stuff.
Oh yeah.
Right. So when their oil does eventually run out, they want to be able to make money off of entertainment, right?
Absolutely.
Just like having in the US.
Yeah.
So
they know exactly what their future
sure.
like holds. There's this famous quote by, I think it was the grandfather or the father of the current monarch in Saudi Arabia, and he says something to the tune of, "My grandfather used to ride around in camels.
Yeah.
His father rode around in camels. My father had a Land Rover.
Yeah.
I have a Land Rover or a Range Rover. My father had a Range Rover. I have a Range Rover. My kids will have a Range Rover. Their kids will ride around in camels."
That's
Yeah, something like that. But no, they know what their position is. They know that their only wealth is the oil, and they know that they need to do something before it runs out.
Yeah.
But all that aside, places where F1 is not interesting, it's not an event to watch, are gonna disappear, and I think that we can pretty much say they've made that very clear. Bahrain can probably stay because they still actually draw enough of a crowd from the local people and international. It's still like cheap enough to fly.
and if they could run it on a Saturday rather than on a Sunday, because Sunday's a work day in the Middle East, right? So
okay.
if they could maneuver things ever so slightly to have a race day on a Saturday, they potentially could have even more local turnout. Whether or not that makes enough difference commercially versus TV rates for a Sunday, well, that's yet to be seen. But yeah, I mean, there are always things you can do to increase fan turnout.
Absolutely. But other than that, Abu Dhabi has their days counted. I know that. Like, they don't draw enough people. Any race that doesn't draw enough people just has their days counted, because Liberty understands that if you turn the TV on, and these are That's where Formula One makes their money. Jesus, people, why didn't Bernie understand this? We'll never know. But it's from people tuning in to watch the race. And if you tune in the race and there's nobody on the stands watching the race, then there's got to be a voice in the back of your head that tells you, then why the fuck am I wasting my time if they're not there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't
So
make any sense.
They know that, and they understand this. That's why they're doing something about it, and that's why I know that these underhanded Bernie deal, like collusion, whatever, corruption contracts, are just gonna go away because they're just not sustainable.
But on the other hand, Abu Dhabi is the last race on the calendar, and it happens in November. So don't you think they'll need enough, hot countries that that during the winter the cars can actually
South
work?
Africa,
South Africa.
huge F1 following there still. They've had a classic race forever. Bring it back. What's wrong with that? And they'll be able to like sell tickets for cheap there. Are you kidding me? South Africa would be a perfect solution to that. Yeah, it's gonna cost everybody a lot of money, but if everybody's making more money out of F1 because more people are watching F1, it adds up, man. It makes sense.
It's also a lot closer to the European market. So you
Yes.
have someone
Oh,
flying
hours.
over.
Yeah.
Hours. You can flying over is not going to be that expensive.
Yeah.
So you can get a lot more people going over
Yeah,
because it'll be a cheap race potentially.
South Africa, back to the F1 calendar. Why not? Is that as good a point to end it as any other?
I believe so.
Guys, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for everybody for showing up. Honestly, we had a great turnout. So many people woke up early. And this Easter Sunday, happy Easter to those of you that celebrate, and made it downtown. F1 in Toronto at the bar was a major success. We got today proved that we got a great community in Toronto, a great community. If you're out there listening in North America, and we see this a lot in messages to us, people saying like, hey, like, wouldn't it be great that this happened in our city? Do it. Start it, man. Just start it. Start it in your city. It's great, and you get to meet some fantastic people. You get to have a lot of fun, and it's just, there's nothing wrong about it.
It's a beautiful thing.
All right, guys.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
Take care.